Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarorvyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to all of you once again. We are studying Sri Ishopanishad book, and we have covered the second section, which is the inconceivable nature of the absolute truth and the vision of a Mahabhagavat Vaishnava, an elevated, pure devotee of Krishna. The next section is from mantra 9 to 11, and this talks about the difference between knowledge and ignorance. In Sanskrit, ignorance is called avidya and knowledge is called vidya. So again, as I mentioned before, this being Upanishad, it doesn't really give very direct explanation on these two topics of vidya and avidya. But if you contemplate on it a bit and study the meanings with the help of the commentaries of the acharyas, then it starts making more sense. So let's look at mantra number 9. It teaches us the difference between ignorance and knowledge. In the mantra 3, we came across the term Atmahanaha, which means killer of the soul. So mantra 3 refer to different types of killers of the soul who do not understand and follow the Ishavasya principle. Right? Now in mantra 9, 2 types of these persons are described: the materially ignorant and the materially knowledgeable, both. Here, ignorance and knowledge is based on the material academic qualifications. But even if someone is materially very knowledgeable, doesn't mean that that person is actually knowledgeable, right? So you'll see that mantra 9 is telling us or we are going to listen to the translation, then we'll understand. Mantra 9 is telling us, both Vidya and Avidya are bad, as they lead to darkness. Vidya is also bad, Avidya is also bad. Knowledge is also bad, ignorance is also bad. They both lead to bondage. Then mantra 10 says, Avidya and Vidya, they give two different results. But mantra 9 already said they both lead to darkness. And mantra 10 says they both give different results. And mantra 11 says both Vidya and Avidya should be cultivated together to attain liberation. So isn't it a bit confusing? One mantra is saying both will lead to bondage. Another mantra is saying they both give different results. And then the next mantra is saying you should cultivate both of them. And that will lead to liberation. So how do we understand now? So though the same word is being used in these three different mantras, actually the meaning these two words will take will be different. In mantra 9, when avidya word is used, it means ignorant pursuit of sense gratification. Means you are a fool and you are interested in sense gratification. Okay. And the word vidya refers to what? You are very knowledgeable, but still you are interested in sense gratification. That's the meaning of the word vidya and avidya in mantra number 9. Then mantra number 10. Avidya means knowledge for the pursuit of sense gratification. And vidya means knowledge for the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. So here the meaning of the word has changed. Compared to mantra 9, the words are having a different meaning here. And mantra number 11, avidya means the knowledge for bodily maintenance. And vidya means the knowledge for the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. If you are not writing it down, you will not understand when we discuss the purport or the mantras. So better if you can write it down. So mantra number 9 was, avidya means pursuing sense gratification ignorantly. Vidya meant pursuing sense gratification with knowledge. Mantra number 10, avidya means knowledge for the pursuit of sense gratification. And vidya means knowledge for the pursuit of sense gratification, Krishna consciousness. So here what we understand is basically mantra number 10 is giving us the the definition of vidya and avidya in which we would be interested. Means for us, avidya or ignorance would mean material knowledge, and vidya would mean spiritual knowledge. That's the definition which mantra number 10 gives, right? But mantra number 9, the words avidya and vidya are both used for material knowledge, knowing material knowledge, not knowing material knowledge. So that would be what materialistic educators would see as, they would say, tamso ma jyotirgamaya, from darkness you move to light. So their understanding of vidya means something which gives you how to earn your bread and butter. That's it. That's vidya. That's all. So that's what mantra 9 is dealing with. Knowledge and ignorance on material platform. Then mantra 10 does the discrimination. Knowledge on material platform, knowledge on spiritual platform, right? And mantra number 11 says, you need knowledge on both material platform and spiritual platform to make progress in Krishna consciousness. How? I have this body, so I need to maintain this body. So I must have that knowledge. Though that is material knowledge. Correct? And also, I have to cultivate spiritual knowledge to make progress in Krishna consciousness. I hope this is clear. The different meanings of these two words, vidya and avidya. So in mantra 9, whether you say vidya or you say avidya, both are on material platform. Okay? So both will lead to darkness. Whether someone is educated or non-educated, doesn't matter. That person will be bound by the actions of his by the reactions of his actions, by his karma. So the mantra is Andham tama pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya uvidyayam rataha. Very interesting explanation actually. The translation is, those who engage in the culture of nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So those who are in ignorance, they are in danger. But those who are in knowledge, they are in bigger danger, a greater danger. That's what this mantra says. Why they are in a bigger danger? Because they are knowledgeable, they'll use their knowledge to exploit the resources of material nature more than those who are not knowledgeable. This is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He has written a song, Jada Vidya Sava Mayara Vaibhava. He says Jada Vidya, knowledge of matter, is an opulence of material energy. It's Maya Vaibhav. It's not Bhakti Vaibhav. It is Maya Vaibhav. Means it's an opulence given to you by Krishna's material energy. Maya Vaibhav. Okay. So today I'll take you to the slide first and then we'll read the purport. Now, these two words are differently explained by different acharyas, and the explanations are all very, very useful, So we'll look at each one of these explanations. So Madhvacharya, what does he explain about the word avidya and vidya? This is very important. So let's read. Someone would like to just read the two columns. What does Madhvacharya say about avidya and vidya?
Prabhuji, we can't see the slide.
You can't see the slide? Okay, sorry. Wait a second. So now you can see the slide. So the word vidya and avidya differently explained by these acharyas. Madhvacharya says what? Okay, as per him, what is avidya? Hanisha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vandapana, who worship with false knowledge.
That's avidya. And what is vidya?
Not
showing.
Not visible.
Not visible.
Who worship with true knowledge, worship Lord Vishnu, but do not correct false knowledge. Avidya, the worshippers of the deities other than Lord Vishnu. Vidya, who do not criticize the false worshippers.
Yes. So here both are wrong. Huh? Don't take both as either, means the vidya part is correct. Both are wrong. Avidya means who worship with false knowledge. Vidya means who worship with true knowledge but do not correct false knowledge. Both are wrong. Not that this is correct and that is wrong. Which means here it refers to those people who will follow the right path, but they will not correct those who are following the wrong path. They don't criticize the false worshippers. They say, no, you should not criticize anyone. You should speak good about everyone. Everyone is good. So Madhvacharya says that knowledge will not lead to liberation. That kind of understanding. You must criticize the false worshippers, or at least you should be able to tell why they are wrong and where they are wrong. So teaching is what? Those people know Narayana in his true form, free from false, and simultaneously criticize those with false knowledge of Vishnu are the true devotees. Right? Therefore, the true devotees of Krishna will criticize demigod worship. The true devotees of Krishna will criticize impersonalism. The true devotees of Krishna will criticize materialistic devotional service. They will criticize. They'll speak that this is wrong. Fine. Why we should criticize? Madhusudanavisnudas says, when you criticize what is wrong, you become free from sorrow and ignorance. You cross over sorrow and ignorance. And by knowing the complete truth, you become full of bliss. Okay. Next, let's look at what Vedanta Deshika explains about avidya and vidya. Okay, so this is little technical subject. Alok Prabhuji, please read the difference between two.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandvat. Vedanta Desika avidya, who are absorbed in performance of the prescribed duties, karma, without knowledge. Vidya, who engage only in knowledge, jnana, while neglecting the performance of prescribed duties.
All right. Only engaged in karma, no interest in jnana. Only engaged in jnana, not interested in doing any kind of karma. Avidya and vidya. Okay. Let's read this also. Alok Prabhu.
The avidya, excessively attached to enjoyment and power, they perform with the absorbed mind various activities. Vidya, engage only in jnana, giving up the activities, karmas, suitable to their qualifications.
So what is the lesson to take away? The highest goal will be achieved only by cultivating knowledge along with practice of varnashrama. Okay. So our understanding of Bhagavad-gita is what? That karma and jnana should be cultivated together. Not that you reject one for the other. They should go hand in hand. Because if you cultivate knowledge without engaging in your duties, then knowledge is useless. The knowledge will not lead to any kind of purification of heart. So karma should be performed, but in knowledge, right? Generally, people, when they come to knowledge, they want to leave their duties or go away from their duties. But the process of purification is you should continue to execute those duties, but now in knowledge. All right. Next, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives a different meaning. What is the meaning given by him? Just a second, my screen got stuck. Hold on for a second, please. Okay, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what is avidya and vidya? Varshana Leela Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says avidya is those engaged in matter are situated in avidya function of Maya. Vidya is those who become detached from matter by the vidya function of Maya. We further explain, they become, for avidya, they become increasingly entangled in the cycle of birth and death, karma bandhana. And for vidya, because they do not perform bhakti, they do not receive the shelter of the Lord's spiritual energy.
Yes. So the Lord has various energies, and one of those energies is called Maya Shakti. By that Maya Shakti, the Paramatma creates this world. And Maya Shakti has two functions. One is called Vidya, and the other is called Avidya. The Vidya function of Maya destroys matter, and Avidya function of Maya creates matter. Okay. Which means when you have Vidya, but that is material knowledge or under the Maya potency, then that will destroy our samsara bandhana. And if we have avidya, then that potency will create our sansar or extend our stay in the sansar. So those people who are engaged in matter, they are situated in avidya, and their spiritual nature is covered by darkness of matter. But those who become detached from matter, though they are able to destroy matter with the vidya function, because they have not received the shelter of the Lord, spiritual Shakti, and they are not performing bhakti, they enter into a darker region where the Atma seems to be destroyed. Right? So even if someone is cultivating spiritual knowledge, but that spiritual knowledge is devoid of knowledge of Paramatma and Bhagavan, and it is only knowledge of this self, only Atma Gyan, then that knowledge leads to greater destruction than someone engaging in sense gratification alone. Because that knowledge leads to committing spiritual suicide. Right? Let's see the teaching of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. While engaged in Vidya, do not forget to establish a relation with Paramatma in this material world. In that way, one can truly become liberated from matter. All right. Now, we will look at the purport. Paragraph number 1. Rupanshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. This mantra offers a comparative study of Vidya and Avidya. Avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but Vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Sri Ishopanishad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
So Srila Prabhupada says that in the modern times, this mantra is very relevant. Why? Because so much emphasis is being given on material education. And that material education is making people more and more frustrated in life. Actually, they are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement. Next paragraph. Vaiji Mataji.
As far as Vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly the supreme law is the proprietor of everything. Forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed towards the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Martin Luther King, he once said, the precarious situation of modern times is that we have guided missiles. We have guided missiles, but we have misguided men. Machines are properly being controlled, but men are totally out of control. And that's because of the result of so much of emphasis on material education. Next paragraph. Vishvanatha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Of the different classes of men, karmis, jnanis, and devis, the karmis are those who are engaged in the activities of sense gratification. In the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in the activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, and so on. All these activities are more or less based on satisfaction of the senses, to the exclusion of the kind of God consciousness described in the first mantra. Thank you.
Next paragraph. Satish Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. In the language of the Bhagavad-gita 7.15, people who are engaged in gross sense gratification are modas, ashes. The ash is a symbol of stupidity. Those who simply engage in the profitless pursuit of sense gratification are worshipping avidya, according to Sri Ishopanishad. And those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancement are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of a gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by a godless people is as dangerous as valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. A cobra decorated with a valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not decorated. In the Bhakti Subodhaya 3.11.12, the advancement of education by a godless people is compared to decoration on a dead body. In India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern civilization is a patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual miseries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification. But above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is intelligence. And Prabhu, can you scroll down? And above the intelligence is the soul. Thus, the aim of real education should be self-realization, realization of the spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such a realization must be considered avidya or nescience. And to culture such a nescience means to go down to the darkest region of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada is comparing to the advancement of modern education to like decorating a dead body. By decorating a dead body, the ugliness of the dead body does not go away. It only creates an illusion that this person is looking so beautiful now. Similarly, he says that if there is a cobra and it has a valuable jewel on its head, then that cobra is more dangerous than a cobra without a jewel. Because when the cobra has a jewel, you are attracted towards that cobra. I want to take that jewel from you. But as soon as you put your hand close to it, it will bite you. Right? So similarly, what modern education does is, oh, this person seems to be so educated. He must be or she must be a really good person. I can trust him or her. I can depend him on her. He or she will do my work in the best way possible. Person begins to develop some kind of faith on that person. That this person must be better than others. But then, if they are not trained in character, they're only trained in caliber, then that same person becomes like a cobra. It will bite you back. Right? It leads to greater danger. They misuse the knowledge being given to them. Right? They will, instead of using it properly. So that's what is being explained here. That's how Vidya is more dangerous than avidya. More dangerous than avidya. Srila Prabhupada will also speak about another kind of vidya which is dangerous. Next paragraph. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. According to the Bhagavad-gita 2.42 and 7.15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Veda Vadarata and Maya Prahita Jnana. They may also be atheistic demons, and the lowest of men. Those who are Rata pose themselves a very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad-gita 15.15, it is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead, but these Veda Rata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by the fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. As stated in the mantra.
Okay, Mataji, fine.
Okay, Hare
So
Krishna.
here, the two more different kinds of personalities who profess to have knowledge, Vidya, but are not in knowledge are explained. Vedavadarata and Maya-pahrita jnana. Vedavadarata means those who recite the Vedas, Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi, etc. Not the title, but actually those who know the Vedas. They have memorized it, they speak on it. But then they don't go to the deeper aspects of the Vedic knowledge. They just remain on the superficial level. And next is Maya-pahrita jnana, whose knowledge is stolen by material energy, which means they have the knowledge, but when they need to implement that knowledge, they forget the knowledge, or they find a different way out. Next, okay, next paragraph. Kunal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Stated in Mantra 1, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in the forgetful living being. And this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for the understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Next paragraph. Shavani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. But the Vedavata Rata people, instead of realizing that the purpose of the Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, or the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Vedavata Ratas give their own explanations of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, Acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Vedavata Ratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit words Vidyayam Rataha. Vidyayam refers to the study of the Vedas, because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, Vidya, and Rataha means those engaged. Vidyayam Rataha thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the Acharyas. Such Vedavata Rata search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession. Hare Krishna.
So let me give you an example to explain who is a Vedavata Rata and how that person can be useless for the society. Let's say someone is studying law and that person has a great ability to memorize all the law codes. Code number 1, if a person has done so and so, there should be the punishment. Code number 2, If a person has done this crime, this should be the punishment. Code number 3, if a person has not done so, but there is a false blame on that person, then that person is not guilty. Like that, he has memorized all the codes. Now that person gets a case. And in that case, he's supposed to use his knowledge to help the innocent and to get the criminal punished. But in that case, this person says, no, I cannot do this. Why? Because if I do this, I'm not going to make sufficient money. Rather, I'll make more money if I can prove the criminal as innocent and the innocent as criminal. I get more money. So in this case, it's a typical example of Vedvat Rataha. They know the Vedas, but instead of using the Vedic knowledge to help the innocent, instead of using the Vedic knowledge to support the preaching of devotional service, instead of using the Vedic knowledge to be more austere, they will use the Vedic knowledge to do a better sense gratification. They're interested in knowledge, but for what? For increased sense gratification. That's Vedvatrata. Studying the Vedas for the sake of not the main goal of life, which is attaining liberation from material life, but studying the Vedas to make material life better. Better and better and better and better. So they may be very expert in the knowledge of the Vedas. That person, that lawyer, may be an excellent lawyer, much more better than other lawyers. But that person is actually lost in the real purpose of the study of the subject of law, right? Similarly, someone may know the Vedas in and out thoroughly, but then they may not be knowing the purpose of the Vedas. What is that purpose? That the Vedic knowledge should be used to help the conditioned souls come out of material attachment and be attached to Krishna. They may not be knowing that purpose. So that is Vedvadarataha. Let's look at this slide now. Sripad explained avidya as those engaged in activities of sense gratification. Who are they? Karmis, which means 99.9% of the human population, engaged under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, etc. They're also called mudas, symbol of stupidity. Now, Vidya, they are engaged in so-called knowledge, and they are more dangerous. They are being compared to decorations on a dead body, cobra with a valuable jewel. How they are more dangerous? Let's look at this. There is someone who is in ignorance. There is someone who is in ignorance, but he claims to be in knowledge. And there is someone who is in ignorance, claims to be in knowledge, and is trying to prove others wrong who are actually knowledgeable. If you compare these three people, who is the most dangerous?
The third category.
The third category, right? That person does not know. That person still claims that I know. And then that person condemns those who know, right? That's why Srila Prabhupada used to say the phrase, fools and rascals. Fools means they don't know, and rascals are those who do not know, but they claim to the world that they know. So fools and rascals. They don't know, but they say we know. We are right. Right? And this is something which, I'm sorry to say, but material education does to a person. Though they are becoming actually very ignorant about what is the real purpose of life, they become so proud that we are so educated, we are so learned, we have these material degrees with us, and we can do something nice for the society. This increases the ego to a very high level. And you can see that. I mean, especially when you are actually dealing with different kinds of audience, when you are dealing with different kinds of audience, you can very easily see the influence of modern education on their mentality. It is there. It's very, very, it's very, very easily visible that how modern education, it makes the person proud, falsely proud. This I have experienced. I go to VIH to teach, and in VIH, I come across three kinds of audience. Which are these three kinds of audience? Westerners, who are generally educated. Indians, who are educated. Indians, who are not so educated. So three categories. Westerners, generally they are mostly all educated. Indians, who are educated. Indians, not educated. And these three levels of audience, their behavior, their culture, their attitude in studying the scriptures, it is different. Very different. Those who are coming from the Western background and they're educated, they will approach the knowledge just for the sake of knowledge, but they will not have sufficient respect for the person who is teaching. For them, teacher is secondary. That subject is primary. Then there are Indians who are educated. They are more respectful than the Western counterpart, because still that Indian culture is there. They're brought up in that culture. But when it comes to the etiquettes, when it comes to the attitude, when it comes to studying the scriptures in the right mood, the one who are the least educated, they are the best. They are the best. The way they approach the scriptures, the way they approach the sadhu, the way they approach the teacher, the way they approach the facility given to them, it's more devotional. The heart is more nurtured with that energy. Now, why this difference? What has gone wrong with the others? What has gone wrong is what they have taken from the society in the name of education. That has gone inside and that has corrupted their mentality, their way of thinking. It does a damage, a very subtle damage. May not be visible on the surface level, but it does a damage to you inside. It spoils you from inside. It spoils your way of thinking. Right? So that is being explained here. Let's say we have two more slides to discuss. Vedavatarataha. Okay, someone can quickly read out these points. Let me call out the name. Sita Mataji.
Vedavatarataha pose themselves as very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. Not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. 3, fascinated by such fleeting results as the attainment of heaven, karma kandis. 4, they misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literatures. 5, they condemn the Puranas. 6, they tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. And 7, they search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes.
So, is it possible that a person who is studying Bhagavad-gita as it is can also become like that? It is possible. That one can study the books written by Srila Prabhupada also in this manner and develop that kind of nature. So this tendency is not just in the people outside ISKCON society. This tendency can also be in the people inside ISKCON society. And they may also tend to become like that. Forget the main purpose of the knowledge given to us by the parampara and be absorbed in the superficial knowledge only. But forget the main purpose. Sorry. Yeah. Maya Parhita Jnana. Sorry. Someone can please read this. Gopi Manohar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada Pranam.
Then Pranam.
If demons. Second, self-made God. Third, think there is no need of worshipping any other God. Fourth, agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Next, such men unable to recognize their own foolishness never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so please mute yourself. Okay. So now let me ask you some questions based on what we discussed now. Some people, they consider knowledge as sorrow, and they say ignorance is bliss. So why is it a tendency in people to not acquire knowledge? You see that people run away from knowledge, even if you give them opportunities that cultivate knowledge, they stay away from it. Even if you give it free to them, still they will stay away from it. So what is inside them which is holding them from not taking this opportunity seriously?
Fear.
Hare Krishna.
Fear.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, can I?
Yes, Marsha.
Yes, Prabhuji, because I think that they don't want to put in the effort again what they learn of. They are not ready to really absorb and make that change in their life. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. So they don't want to take responsibility for their own life. They don't want to know what is reality. Because if they come to know what is reality, they'll have to face it. So they don't want to know that I'm wrong and what I'm doing should be given up. Right? This holds them from acquiring higher knowledge. Right? They don't put efforts in that direction. And this can also happen with the practicing sadhaka. I can just be happy with whatever few things I learned in the beginning days of my Krishna consciousness. And that much knowledge will give me sufficient sense gratification within the society ISKCON. It will also bring me good recognition within the society ISKCON. And on the basis of that knowledge, I can do lots of things within the organization called ISKCON. And I can just stay happy with that much. Not wanting to know the scriptures at a deeper level and at a higher level. Because if I study them at a deeper level, I'll be forced to follow those instructions which I don't want to follow. So I want to stay away from that. I don't want to go deeper into it. And that tendency is there in all the conditioned souls. Because when you have knowledge, there is a force inside you which punishes you if you don't follow that knowledge. Right? When you know something and you don't do it, then the guilt of not doing is very strong. There is someone who is beating you from inside, that you knew it, still you did not do. You knew it, you still did not do. You knew it, you still not do. Right? Isn't it? And that guilt is very strong, so it kind of kills you from inside. And because people don't want to commit themselves to a higher level of dedication, they think, better let me stay where I am. So one of the devotees, he was telling that, therefore, knowledge alone cannot make you change. Along with knowledge, there is another quality that should be there in you. Then that knowledge will become useful to you, and that quality is called honesty. Honesty plus knowledge will bring the change. One should be honest with oneself. Then cultivating better and better knowledge leads to advancement in spiritual life. It is observed that when devotees get into Maya, yes, devotees also sometimes get into Maya, they also do things which they are not supposed to do, then the devotee suffers more than a materialistic person. Why? Because the material person did not know this is wrong, but a devotee knows this is wrong. And a devotee knows, now since I have done this thing wrong, I have committed an offense towards Krishna. I have committed an offense towards devotional service. I have committed an offense towards my spiritual master. Isn't it? So that mentality, that thinking, that thought will then disturb you so much from inside. So when we are given knowledge, with the knowledge comes greater responsibility that we should not deviate from it. But when we deviate from it, then we suffer more. And therefore, sense gratification for a devotee is so poisonous than when it is for a non-devotee. If a non-devotee is doing any mistake or any activity, if a devotee does it, the experience is much more bitter than non-devotee's experience. Because you are in knowledge now and you know this is wrong. This is completely wrong. Right? Therefore, it is important for us to know one thing, that if you have gotten the association of a very exalted Vaishnava, if you have the best scripture with you, if the Sangha to which you are connected, the community of devotees, that's of the highest level, if you are being a part of a course like Bhakti-sastri or Bhakti-vaivav, you are studying the books, then you should know that you are getting greater mercy, you are getting greater benedictions, you are getting, along with that, greater responsibility also. And if I don't commit myself to that responsibility, then that abundance of knowledge, blessing, and mercy, it is dishonored by me. Right? And when it is dishonored by me, then the reaction is very strong. Very, very strong. Something very important for the members of Krishna consciousness movement to understand, that we have been unknowingly given the best. And because we do not have so much faith in that best, the reactions of that is very heavy. Our faith on what we have been given is not so much as what people who do have low amount of knowledge have faith on that amount of knowledge. They have so much faith that this is what I've heard from my guru, this is what my scripture is telling, and therefore they are able to build upon that faith and make progress. But when a Krishna conscious person, specifically connected to Gauriya Vaishnavism, gets so much knowledge and so much of facility to practice that knowledge and make one's life perfect, but then the attitude is of, it's okay, let me take my time, I can wait for many years more, this is not so important, this can be in the back burner, it's okay. Then what happens is, it's a kind of a subtle offense created towards that precious gift that one has received. And that leads to then new problems in one's spiritual life. So one has to be very careful about this particular aspect of, if you are taking more knowledge, be ready to act on it. Otherwise, don't be interested in higher knowledge. Stay away from it. If you are interested in higher knowledge, then you should also be ready to act on it. Greater responsibility. Okay. Now, how to develop higher knowledge and deeper understanding? So for that, we need to know one thing. Knowledge is revealed to us on the basis of what desires we are cultivating in the heart. If our desires are for spiritual progress, then Krishna will reveal to us greater and greater knowledge day by day. But if our desires are not proper, then higher knowledge will never come to us. Even if you are reading the highest book, or even if you are attending the highest course, it will not come to us. It will come to us when my desires become of a higher level. And what affects our desires? What affects our desires? what we hear, what we read, whom we associate with, that affects our desires. Our association will dominate our experience and our desires, and will create needs within us. Whatever you associate with or whomever you associate with, the need of that person will become your need. That's how longing or ness or desire comes inside, right? So it's important, therefore, we associate with people who are advanced in Krishna consciousness and develop those kinds of desires. Then those desires will facilitate development of higher kind of knowledge, and we can put such knowledge in practice. Okay, so that's all on this verse, this mantra. Let me take one or two questions which are put in the chat box. What is meant by varnashrama? All right. Varna ashrama. Varna means social order. Ashram means spiritual order. There are 4 varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And there are 4 ashramas: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. So being a follower of varnashram means you should accept one of these varnas and you should accept one of these ashramas and follow the rules associated with that varna and ashram. That's called varnashram. Okay. Next question. Okay, it's not a question. It's a comment. Fine. All right. Any question on this mantra we discussed before we take a break?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I
Hare
ask?
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Varshana Leela Mataji.
Prabhuji, while explaining this mantra, you have given us Madhvacharya commentary. So I just wanted to know that generally from our senior devotees in our congregation or ISKCON, we hear that we have to be very compassionate, kind, and in a general sense that all are Vaishnavas and somehow we should not criticize anyone. And I don't know that how I can understand Madhvacharya's point that we should criticize if somebody is doing wrong and not following this, not taking Narayana form in the proper way.
Yeah. So Srila Madhvacharya, he was known as a preacher who always strongly presented his understanding of the absolute truth. And that's how the mood of all the acharyas in our sampradaya has been. Whether you study the life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you study the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, you study the life of Srila Prabhupada, right? But who can criticize? Why we are encouraged not to criticize? Because our criticism will not be free from envy. Because we are conditioned souls, right? We will criticize because we feel I am superior. They are inferior. Let me criticize them. So our criticism will lead to development of false pride in us. So that's why we are told, don't criticize. Because you're not at that level. But those people who are very pure in heart, their criticism does a surgical operation in the heart of the listeners. So when they criticize, that criticism, it benefits rather than it hurts. That's why you see Prabhupada would criticize strongly and still people would leave laughing from his programs or smiling, because his criticism would cleanse their heart. But because we don't have that kind of purity in our heart, if we criticize, it will fire back. So we have to be careful. Okay, but at the same time, where you are situated, in what position you are situated, from that level you can speak for the benefit of the other person. Okay. Yes. So Madhvacharya is speaking for those who are holders of dharma. If they don't criticize the wrongdoers, then the wrongdoing nature will flourish. And it is also mentioned that, you see, when you are speaking criticism. Let's say you are asked to give a class, and the topic is demigod worship versus worshipping Krishna. Okay, you are supposed to give this talk to an audience, new audience. Now, in that talk, will you say, don't worry, you can continue to worship the demigods, you'll get the same result as worshipping Krishna? Will you say so? If you already have studied Bhagavad-gita and Prabhupada books and have understood, will you say so?
No.
No, you'll not say so, right? You'll not say so. So what will be the tactic you'll try to follow? That let me show the superiority of worshipping Krishna, how worshipping Krishna is very beneficial, how it is much more rewarding than worshipping the demigods, right? So you'll say if you worship the demigods, you'll get temporary results. But if you worship Krishna, you'll get permanent results. If you worship the demigods, you will get only material benefit. But if you worship Krishna, you can get liberation and you can also get entrance into spiritual abode, right? Like that, you will try to show the difference. You will try to show the superiority of Krishna consciousness. So here, you are not telling them that they are wrong, but at the same time, in a very polite and gentle manner, you are criticizing them only. You are criticizing their activities only, but in a very gentle manner, not in a very blunt manner. Okay. So that can be adopted. That method can be adopted. And when we do that, while we are speaking and when we don't point out what wrongs is going on, what happens is, by that we are actually allowing our own heart to be comfortable with those wrong things or wrong activities, and then we can also become a victim of doing the same wrong thing. That's why I've observed that those devotees who are trying to give up a bad habit, they'll always talk about it also, that this is bad. Because when you speak about it, you are not just killing that habit or that tendency to engage in that activity for others, you are also killing it inside you. But if you don't speak it out, then you are not killing it inside yourself, right? So devotees do that they, whatever challenge they are going through and they have to give up that particular bad habit, they'll speak about it, they'll criticize it. And Madhvacharya says, he gives a beautiful explanation. He says, imagine that particular bad habit is a guest at your house. Okay. That person has come to stay at your home. And from the morning till evening, you are criticizing that person. What will happen? That guest will leave. Yeah. That guest will not stay anymore. So Madhvacharya says, when you criticize bad qualities, they leave you. They leave your heart and go away. And when you glorify good qualities, they enter your heart and they stay there. So it's a science. Why criticize? Criticize for this reason. Okay, those tendencies go away. All right. Next, any other question if someone has? Srinivas Gopal Prabhu, you had a question.
Hare Krishna, thank you. The same question Mataji has already asked it, but I just want to further ask you on this same lines. When we generally argument sake or something like we say, we know that we heard from Prabhupada, this is the right and this is right. For argument's sake, if we keep our argument and then we try to preach him like this is right, then sometimes they get offended. That is how we have to deal like that. We know that this is right, but at the same time we don't want to offend him. Then to be too strict is avoiding this person will not come to our temple again or will not come to our house again. These things can be happening.
The thing is, you see, there is a very thin line between trying to convince someone or being argumentative in nature. You see, when you are trying to convey some message to someone, you convey in a manner that that person should understand it very clearly, first of all. And if you have done so, and still you are able to see that this person is not really in the mood to accept it, then you should not spend too much more time on conveying the same message to that person. Then you step back. Argumentative nature means what? You very well understand, or let's say you don't understand, that this person is going to accept your statements, but still you are banging on again and again the same thing, right? So then it leads to a kind of friction in the relationship, right? So that thin boundary is there. We should not cross over it. No need to go beyond that. But you should point out what's wrong. I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada, he gave initiation. So one of his disciples is His Holiness Mukund Goswami Maharaj. He helped Srila Prabhupada a lot in preaching Krishna consciousness. So after initiation, one day, he was standing in front of Srila Prabhupada, and he had already grown a big beard, long hairs. So one devotee came and gave him a cup of tea, a big cup of tea, and he took that cup of tea. So Srila told him, "Why are you drinking tea?" So he said, "Because he gave it to me." So Prabhupada said, "He gave it to you doesn't mean that you have to drink tea. No, only if your health is not good, you are sick, then you can drink tea just for health reasons, just to clear your throat or nose, you can drink tea. Otherwise, you do not drink tea." So at that time, Prabhupada said this much only. Now that was sufficient for anyone to understand, I should not be drinking it. But still Prabhupada saw on this particular devotee's face that he was like, "It's okay, no Swamiji, for today allow me. From tomorrow I'll not drink. Now the glass is in my hand. The devotee already has given me this cup of tea. So today let me drink it." So then Prabhupada saw that kind of expression was on his face. So Prabhupada immediately told, "Okay, for today you drink. From tomorrow you should not." So he did not waste his time getting into an argument. He already conveyed the message. He already corrected. He already said what should be done. But when he saw the other person is not willing to strongly accept it, fine, let it go. You understand it? Yeah. Because then it is waste of time, no? Then you just argue. It spoils the relationship. It doesn't anyway do any benefit to that person. So one has to have this understanding. And this is only possible if we are in mode of goodness. If we are in mode of passion, once the argument is started, then it will be like, who will win it? I must win it. By hook or crook, I should win it. So that's what mode of passion does then. Then you don't know. 1 hour, 2 hours, just gone, wasting time. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. But they are not telling you this personally. So, but this is something which I would like to tell everyone. Those who are argumentative in nature, they should be very careful of not getting into arguments, because that's your nature. So, so better don't get into that zone. Stay away. And otherwise, passion will overtake us. Any other question before we take a break? All right, let's take a break, then we come for the next mantra. Welcome back. Mantra 10. Okay. So this mantra also talks about avidya and vidya. The same two words are being used here. Anyat eva hurvidyaya, anyadahur avidyaya, iti shushrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. So anyone remembers what the meaning of the word avidya is here? And what is vidya in this particular mantra? What is the meaning of the word avidya?
Knowledge for sense gratification.
Knowledge for sense gratification. That is avidya. And what is vidya?
Knowledge for Krishna consciousness.
Knowledge for Krishna consciousness, right? So these two different knowledges will give us different results. That's being explained here. They will give us different results. These two different knowledges. Anyadaho, evaho, avidyaya. The wise have explained that one result is obtained or derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. So what is the first result of cultivating true knowledge? How will you evaluate someone, if that person has knowledge or not?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I say?
Yeah.
Any activity that we perform is backed up by a scriptural reference, that is Vidya.
Okay. What else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I?
Yes, Prabhu.
There will be he will be applying himself in that that whatever he has learned in his life. There will be a change in his character.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, the person who is in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness will have all the 26 gunas which were discussed in Bhagavad-gita by Lord Krishna.
All right. Thank you.
Hare Krishna
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Mati.
Accepting that Krishna is the proprietor of everything.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So the first quality that a person who has knowledge will have is that person will be humble. Humility is the sign of knowledge. That person will be humble. Then that person actually knows, has some knowledge. What happens when people study so much in this world? The first quality they develop is pride. Totally opposite to what it should produce. Instead of humility, it produces pride. Right? That's why it is not knowledge, then it was ignorance, because instead of developing humility in you, it made you proud. It made you think that you're something very great. All right. So Srila Prabhupada, therefore, in this whole purport, he speaks on those lines which we have already studied in Bhagavad-gita, for those who have studied in Bhagavad-gita, right? In chapter 13 of Bhagavad-gita, there were 5 verses, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which were explaining the process of knowledge. It started with amanitvam adambhitvam. Remember? Starts with not expecting any respect from anyone. So those points are covered in Bhagavad-gita. Therefore, when those who have studied Bhagavad-gita, they know it, or let us hope that they know it. And those who are going to study Bhagavad-gita, they are going to study it anyway in future. So we'll not study them in detail now, these points. Okay, we'll just read through them. We'll not discuss them. Fine. So what are those points? Let's read them one by one. As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad-gita, 13.8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. First, so every devotee who wants to read can read one point. Okay, so let's start with Tulsi Mataji. Read the first point.
Hare Krishna. So one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others.
Thank you. Next, Swati Mataji. Swati Mataji.
One should not pose himself.
Okay. Something wrong with your system, Mataji. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. Third point. Sureka Mataji.
One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the action of his body,
by the thoughts of his mind or by his words.
Yes. So how can I cause anxiety to others by my thoughts? Just by thinking bad about that person, I can cause anxiety to that person. So one should not think bad about others. Fourth, Ashok Prabhuji.
One should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others.
Yes. Fifth, Seema Mataji.
One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Ajut Priya Kishori Mataji.
One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization, and one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render him service, and ask relevant questions.
Thank you. Next, Vishakha Mataji.
In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures.
Yes, thank you. Uma Mataji, eighth.
One must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures.
Thank you. Ninth, Sarvadev Giridhari Prabhu. What happened, Prabhu? Can't hear. Something wrong with your mic. Gunagrahi Gaurang Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Ninth.
So ninth, one should completely refrain from practice which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization.
Thank you. 10th, Amrita Vilasini.
One should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body.
11th, Vijaya Krishnan Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own.
12. Pankaj Maurya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use of making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity.
Thank you. Next, 13, Lokesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavatanam Prabhuji. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement.
14, Lalita Preshta Gopi.
One should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain.
Next, Neha Mataji.
15. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Anit Mataji.
Hare Krishna. 16th, one should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and serve him with rapt attention.
Yes, Satish Prabhu, 17th.
Yeah, one should develop a liking for residence in a secular place with a calm and quiet atmosphere, favorable for spiritual culture, and one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. Hare Krishna.
And 18. Ritesh Prabhu.
One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body.
Yes. So that's knowledge. All these 18 points. If you look at each one of them, no university teaches even one of them. No institute teaches even one of them. Forget about 18, just one of them also. Nowhere. Right? None of this is the primary goal of any university, to teach the student any one of these things. Right? So let's read the next paragraph now, what Prabhupada says. We'll discuss later more. So some of you are not interested in reading at all. Oh, you can read this, who has not read yet.
Yeah, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Janaki Mataji.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
Which one, Prabhuji? These 18
Yes.
items?
Yeah.
These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of knee science. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusionary energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. This same principle is found here in Sri Ishopanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic. But unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it's described in the Bhagavad-gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes. You must have heard people say, oh, good were the old days. When we used to go to school, we studied like this. Our parents taught us like that. You know, this modern generation, these kids, they don't know anything. They'll talk like that for a long time, but they'll not do what is supposed to be done. What is that? Start teaching your kids Bhagavad-gita. Start teaching your kids Srimad Bhagavatam. They will not do that, but they will talk. No, this is going wrong. Our generation was different. This modern generation does not know anything. But they will not do what is supposed to be done. That this knowledge should be imparted. Next paragraph. Anushka Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. Thus, Sri Ishopanishad very strongly warns that the culture of nations is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nations only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of Brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus, there is animosity, not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well.
Sripad says that, please mute yourself. Boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. It seems when Prabhupada wrote this purport, the girls did not give headache to their elders. But at present, we'll have to change it. Boys and girls are giving headache to their elders, right? So times have changed. I mean, he wrote it in 1940s or 50s. So that time, maybe the girls were better than before. They did not give headache to the parents. So he says they are giving headaches. In all ways, they give headaches. Instead of becoming a support, they become a burden. So now in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, in this paragraph, he has spoken the counterpart of the good quality one should have. Fine. So what you do have to do now is open your Bhagavad-gita as it is and go to chapter number 13. Read the Sanskrit words there in those verses 13.8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you underline these lines from this paragraph, also the next paragraph, and find, not next, just this paragraph. Next can also be done, no? Yeah, next can also be done. And you try to understand which particular quality one should have is being shown here as someone does not have it. So these are the qualities one should be having. The verses 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 talk about that. But here, every single line of Srila Prabhupada, or even one line of Srila Prabhupada, shows how the modern situation does not have those qualities. One of those qualities, or a bunch of those qualities. So you have to identify the Sanskrit word and the line for it. So do it, please do it, these two paragraphs. This paragraph which we just read and the next paragraph. For that you'll need your Bhagavad-gita 13.18 to 12. Just read the Sanskrit, the translation, and then try to mark on these lines here. Right. Okay. Someone could do it? Humility, yes. Pridelessness. Okay.
Amanitvam.
Yes. Thank you.
Pridelessness. Adambitvam.
Prideless and adambitvam.
Then ahimsa.
But ahimsa.
Fourth, shanti.
Acharyopasanam.
Acharyopasanam.
That is sixth.
Self-control regarding the principle of brahmacharya. Right? That's self-control. Atmanvini.
Saucham.
Saucham, cleanliness, correct. Okay.
Number 10, renunciation, vairagya.
Correct. Renunciation only for the sake of name and fame, not true renunciation.
Asakti, that is 14.
Attachment. And what about the last paragraph? No, not the last, this next paragraph. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter.
It is the 18th, Prabhu.
Yes, very good. 18th point. Philosopher, be a philosopher, be a scientist. Try to look at the universe, study the universe from the lens of the teachings of Bhagavad-gita. Okay. So this is how Srila Prabhupada gives examples. Next paragraph. Let's read the next paragraph. Umapati Prabhu. You have to unmute yourself, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I hope I can. Hare Krishna.
You are audible. Your mic has some disturbance though. Okay. We give someone else the chance. Rajshri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also. As infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years, although it is gradually decreasing to 20 or 30 years. Thanks to the culture of nations, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. Such foolish people draw up various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoil. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge. Yet people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge.
Thank you. So this is so true that 50% of nation's energy is devoted to defense measures. I mean, tremendous amount of wealth goes in that field. No, that wealth could have been used for so many other purposes, genuinely beneficial purposes, but just for the defense, so much money. wasting that money. Next paragraph. Vishaka Mataji.
Sri Ishopanishad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad-gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a dhira. A dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. A dhira realizes that the material body and mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain.
Thank you. Next paragraph.
Guruji, can I ask one small? What is this bad bargain word?
To get the material body is a bad bargain. And Prabhupada says, make the best use of that bad bargain. Means use that body to cultivate Krishna consciousness. Okay. Next, Prabhupada even answers your question in the next line. Next paragraph. Shri Hari Kirtan Prabhu.
The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the parts and parcels of the Supreme Living Being, who move the world. The Dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles.
Thank you. They realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. The principles have to be followed. Now, what to do to follow the regulative principles? Next paragraph. Tulasi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in hazardous way of nescient education. One can become a dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became a dhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning Vidya, knowledge, from the dhira, the undisturbed. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Last paragraph. Bhakti Mataji.
An adhira, one who has not undergone the training of a dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as dhira are actually adhiras, and one who cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remunerations in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus, one must hear submissively from a dhira in order to attain actual education. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So we understand from here that to make progress in spiritual life, one needs to cultivate these qualities mentioned that will help in spiritual development. And our spiritual development depends on three factors. First, what all spiritual credits we are bringing from our past life, previous lives. Second, in this particular life, what kind of spiritual greed we have developed and how much mercy we have received from the Supreme Lord. And third, your environment, how favorable it is to cultivate Krishna consciousness. What kind of environment you're living in. These three things define our level of spirituality at the present moment, and also decide our spirituality in the future. So some of the qualities mentioned here are very important to be cultivated, and two of them I'll just speak, 2 or 3 of them. One is one should learn to avoid duplicity in one's nature. Duplicitous nature leads to lack of trust. And when trust is not there, then the basic foundation on which our Krishna consciousness makes progress, that is destroyed. So we have to learn to allow others to trust us. Specifically, devotees should trust us. So if we are not careful about it, then what will happen is that they'll stop investing their energy, compassionate energy upon us. And then we will ruin our spiritual life. So we should not let that happen. That is one of the most important qualities. Why I'm speaking on these qualities only in particular, because in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to maintain these qualities. People are victim of cheating, being duplicitous, showing something which is not there, right? So this is one thing, very important to not have this quality. Second, one should not over-endeavor. Over-endeavor in both material life and also in spiritual life. It's wrong. Even in spiritual life, over-endeavor is dangerous. Why is it dangerous now in spiritual life? Because if Krishna wants something, Krishna will not let us do unnecessary, extra endeavor to get it. Krishna will facilitate that. We need not compromise on our sadhana to get that thing, right? Krishna will never want us to work so hard that we are not able to chant, we are not able to read, we are not able to hear, we are not able to take good care of ourselves, and then we are trying to achieve something from Krishna. Krishna will never do that. So when we over-endeavor still, then basically it's like a clash of interest. Krishna has some interest for you and you have some other interest. Though you may think it is for Krishna's pleasure, but actually it's not so. And then that over-endeavor, even in spiritual dimension, leads to greater controllership mentality. That I am the controller, the power is in my hands, I can do it, I can achieve it. And that mentality then becomes an obstacle in the path of Krishna consciousness. So how we should behave in even spiritual arena, that we should put efforts, we should try very hard to get something done. But then when we see that our plans are not working, then we should step back and think for a while, is it really something that Krishna wants from me? Or am I only imagining so? Should I still put efforts in that direction? And when you begin to understand, no, perhaps it was a figment of my imagination, Krishna really did not want me to do this thing, then you step out of it, not continue putting efforts in that direction. Otherwise, it will lead to wastage of time, right? So when Krishna does not allow some things to happen in our life, some events to take place, we should be alert to the fact that Krishna is sending us a different message to go in a different direction. And we should then take that message and start working on it. We see Srila Prabhupada, he was a very stubborn person. He wanted to achieve what his Guru Maharaj instructed him to achieve. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada is very flexible. Okay, Krishna is giving hints of some other thing to do now. Let me start doing that thing now. Let me not be headstrong. This is the only thing I should be doing. It was very open. Like he started with publishing Back to Godhead magazines, and he was working very hard. But then one day on the street, And a stranger told him, who received his back to Godhead, that don't produce magazines, produce books. Because magazines people just read and throw away. But books they will keep on the shelf for life. So Prabhupada took that word from a stranger very seriously. And he said, okay, now no more back to Godhead magazine. Now I'll start working on the books. He was very open also at the same time. Not that, no, I've decided this, now this should be done. Anyway, I'm doing it for Krishna. No. If Krishna is showing me some other direction now, and it makes more sense, yes, I'm ready for it. I'll take it, I'll go for it, right? So over endeavor can happen in both the places, material, spiritual. And because we are still under the control of mode of passion, so we have to be careful. We should not do that. It should not happen. So one devotee asked me this question, and I gave this answer to that devotee, that if your efforts are affecting your sadhana, that means you are doing over endeavor. So bring it down, make it less. Your sadhana should not be affected. Your sadhana should remain as much as it was before or more than that, right? So seva should never overpower one's sadhana, because if seva starts overpowering our sadhana, our consciousness to do that seva will not be proper. So we will be able to achieve a lot, but the quality of that achievement will not be good. It will not be offerable to Krishna, right? So you do good seva, but that good seva should be on a solid foundation of good sadhana. Right? So one has to be careful in that. And third, in Kali Yuga, we are very curious to start new relationship with people we meet, but we should know that it's good to live in seclusion also sometimes. That point is mentioned, live a secluded life, which means don't allow too many people to be a part of your life until and unless you are a very pure person. Because the more you let people come into your life, you allow their negative energy to be dumped on you. So only if you are pure enough that you can deal with their negative energy, take the risk, be involved with them. Otherwise, don't enter into too many relationships. Have less number of relationships, have genuine relationship with those people, and be satisfied with it. The problem with the modern times is people have relationship with so many people, but all of those relationships are so shallow in nature and doesn't bring satisfaction. Like so many people I know. I have so many friends on Facebook. I have so many followers on Instagram. I have such a big social circle. But then the depth of the relationship is very shallow. So better keep less, invest more in that, make it more thick, go deeper into it. All right, so that's what I would like to convey on this particular mantra. Any questions or comments to end the class? Surya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what is the exactly difference between Maya Abharit Jnana and Vedvadaratas?
Thank you. So Vedavadaratas and Maya Abharit Jnana, the difference is not much. It can also be interchanged based on what they're doing. But Maya Abharit Jnana, basically, it means that these people, they are interested in gaining knowledge. They want to gain knowledge. But because they are unfortunate, that knowledge does not help them when they need it. Which means Maya steals away their knowledge. Vedavatarata, they are very proud people. They know also, and sometimes they follow also. But then why they follow? The purpose of that is very shallow, right? Like follow all the Vedic rituals, but for what? Not because it will please Krishna. It will give me a better future life. I'll get a position in the heaven. So, they are doing the right thing, but they are doing it for a wrong goal. So in that way, they are fooling themselves, cheating themselves. And Maya Parita Jnana are those who have the knowledge, but when they need it, illusory energy steals away from them and they are not able to apply it. So they don't get the benefit out of it. Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anything else? Srinivas Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the one of the slide, you put that three levels of avidya, vidya, and the person who knows and he argues that means he is right, even if he is in ignorance.
Yeah.
Then I want to know this: when he acquires knowledge, but he don't know that he is in ignorance, he himself don't know.
That slide which we showed to you, it was actually not vidya, it was avidya only, no? 3 levels of avidya. One level of avidya is you don't know at all. Second level of avidya is you don't know, but you think you know.
Yes.
And the third level of avidya is you don't know, you think you know, and those who really know, you consider them wrong.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. That means he doesn't have a knowledge of he's in
he doesn't have knowledge. Yeah, it doesn't. He's in ignorance, but he thinks he knows.
Prabhuji, one more this thing that Varnashrama Dharma is mentioned here by Prabhupada in the purport, and at the same time the nationalism or this is avoided.
Nationalism has got no connection to Varnashrama.
There is connection. Kshatriya is a nationalist, no? Kshatriya has to rule. He has a country, and he need a military clan and to rule his country.
Prabhu, Kshatriya stands for dharma. Kshatriya doesn't stand for the nation. Right? Kshatriya means one who will protect dharma in the society. It's not that he will just stand for the nation. If the nation is full of criminals, I'll protect my nation. That's not really knowing Kshatriya dharma. You know, what is the definition of the word Kshatriya? Kshatriya means if someone is harming you, attacking you, doing injustice towards you, then that person comes for help. That's called Kshatriya. Fine. Okay. Which means he will stop injustice in the society. He'll stop infiltration of adharma in the society. It's not that if my people are wrong, still I'll protect them. And if the other party is correct, I'll still fight with them. That's not Kshatriya. Then you are not supporting dharma. Then you're supporting adharma, no? Kshatriya means my duty is to protect the righteous people. That is Kshatriya. So it's not because someone is just attacking me and I'm totally wrong man and someone comes to protect me, so that person is a genuine or true Kshatriya. No, that's not the meaning of the word Kshatriya. He's an upholder of dharma. That's Kshatriya. So just to fight for the nation doesn't make one a Kshatriya.
Because I'm in understanding that a king, ruler of the kingdom, is a Kshatriya also.
Why is he a Kshatriya? Why is he a ruler of the kingdom? Just because someone will attack the kingdom, so he has to protect the kingdom. That is the only role. That is the only role he has to play.
Also, I was thinking also like Pandavas. We take an example of Pandavas or Duryodhana or anybody.
No, that was only one situation, right? It's not that Pandavas are every day having a battle with someone. That is just only one situation, correct? It's not that every day they are having a battle and they're protecting the citizens from the enemies.
No, but the main
battle or the main war that a Kshatriya has to fight is to not allow adharma to penetrate into the society. That's the main battle. Not just, protecting people from invaders. That is also a part of protection, but that's not the only protection. Right? That's only a part of the protection. Like, for example, if you are a father, you are a parent. So is your duty only about protecting the physical body of your child? Is that only what you'll call as protection? As a parent, you have much more duties, right, than just to protect the physical body of the child. When you fulfill all those duties, then you're called a parent. Right or wrong?
Yes.
Not just only protecting the physical body. Likewise, Kshatriya's role is not just protect the national lights from the invaders. That is okay once in a while if there is an attack, you protect. But what about rest of the time? That time also he is protecting, no, from engaging in adharmic activities, sinful activities. So just being a nationalist doesn't make you a Kshatriya. That's not.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Because I was talking in other sense, like temples and like brahmanas have been also need to be protected, and then there you need these qualities also to protect them.
So for that, why you should be known as a nationalist then? You can call that person as a protector of dharma. Why call that person nationalist? Then call with the right word, no?
Yes, but how the qualities will come, the special qualities, nobody cannot go on street and fight, no? Only.
You are not understanding the point. Why use the word nationalist then? Because the word nationalist means I protect the nation despite of what's wrong or good happening in the nation. I don't care. I just protect my nation. That's called nationalist. I stand for my nation. Whether my nation is the most criminal nation in the world, still I stand for it. That's the meaning to the word nationalist, right? So if you say we should protect temples and brahmanas, why call that person a nationalist? Call that person as protector of dharma, no, upholder of dharma. Give the right terminology to that thing. Why call that nationalist?
Okay.
The term nationalist is wrong. It doesn't convey the right meaning of a Kshatriya mentality. Right?
Okay. Correct. That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
The word is wrong. Okay. We don't have a mature educative system for our children, and that's why children are not giving respect to the elders. We have to send them to schools. What can we do now for them at home? What's our responsibility in this case? If you are now given this knowledge, how can we attract them into this knowledge? It depends on what age your child is. If your child is quite grown up now, then it's very difficult to change the way of thinking of that child. It's already now programmed to think in a particular manner. If the child is in teenage, you can do something. If the child is below 10, greater chances. If the child is below 5, much more greater chances. So it depends on what age the child is in. What is the solution to this problem? It's a big topic in itself. Srila Prabhupada wanted that devotees, if they can start their own schools and teach the right thing, that would be the best. But we are far away from that vision, far away from that vision. So some parents have come up with the alternative solution of having homeschooling. Let the child just stay at home and we will teach the child. And that way the child will learn the good things only. So that is one solution which they have come up with. So there are different solutions for this problem, but it's a big topic in itself, so I won't go into that. We can see whatever is possible for us practically, we can do that. We should maintain distance from Mayavadi, then how to maintain that criticize concern towards Mayavadis doing wrong comments, and please clarify. I did not understand your question, Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare
That's
Krishna.
your question. Okay, Swati Mataji.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask you, they have told that the 50% of the sources is spent on military. Is it okay? Because in Mahabharata also they had a Kshatriya power, no? So is it okay or it is not okay? What do you think? It's not okay.
Not okay. In Mahabharata also they had Kshatriya power, that is true. But then to cultivate Kshatriya power, or they did not have Kshatriya power because they had missiles and atom bombs and tanks and all of that. You know, their Kshatriya power came from their Kshatriya power came from sadhana, from tapasya.
Okay.
So they were not using the resources available and exploiting that for the power they had. But now what is happening is people are not having food to eat and you want to make atom bombs.
Right.
That's what is happening.
Yeah.
So it's misuse of the resources, no?
Right.
It's use the resources for feeding people. That's not is happening nowadays.
Okay.
Thank you. Tulsi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The question that I have relates to the way we normally see the commentary and the literatures that are written. It's normally given from the advice or perspective to a male or instructive to the male society. But as you kind of mentioned earlier, it's also applicable to the women and the female component of society. So I just wanted to understand, is there a specific reason why it is revealed in this way?
Okay. See, the times have changed. If you go to the books which were written in those eras, all the books written in those eras, they always addressed the male society. The reason for that was what? Because in those times, women did not come in the forefront to take leadership positions so much as they are doing nowadays. You're understanding? Now, let's say if I want to give an instruction to a leader, and if majority of the people who are leaders are males only, then my instructions will also be designed like that, isn't it?
Okay.
Right.
Noted.
So that there was that time was there where books were read by males only, leaders were males only, right? Males had the most power in their hand. So the literatures also followed that connotation.
Okay, noted. Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So now it has changed. So sometimes, females, they feel this book is written for males only. Am I not supposed to read this book because there's only he, or for men, there's no woman, there's no she, right? So then they feel that, is it not for me? It's only for men. Now that's why then they thought we should write he or she, he or she, he or she. Then it will be very clear. But I have tried doing that. If you write an article with this he and she both, it becomes very boring. Because again and again, you have to read he or she, he or she, he or she, he or she. You get bored so many times repeating this just because of making it gender specific. Then they came with another solution that instead of saying he or she, they will say that. Make it neuter. Means it's for everyone. Whether you are he or she, it applies to you. But that also doesn't really, then that personal feeling goes away. Then you become an object. You just become a thing, because that is without any gender, which means it is used for non-living entities, right? It's used for non-living entities. So these are changes which are going on in the literature world, but it's okay. We are more sane people, so we can understand. He means he also and she also. For that, we just have to increase our sanity to that extent, right? Next question. Vaiji Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I had two questions. The first one is the 18 points that are listed, the 18 qualities for culture, knowledge. Are they exhaustive? That was my first question.
No.
Okay. The second that I had, so where do we find, the other information then regarding other qualities?
You don't have to find them, because there's no point finding them. You work on these principles, those other qualities will also develop.
Okay. Prabhuji, the second question that I had was, so you spoke about the three, major qualities. to avoid duplicity, which I found to be point number 5. And then seclusion, to be in, to live in seclusion where possible, point number 17. And no over endeavor. So that's not within this 18, or is there a related paragraph or point that talks about it?
Let me check, Mataji.
The 18 points. So you mentioned about no over endeavor. So I was just trying to see whether that quality is actually listed in these 18 or not, and I was not able to find it. So that's why I had the first question. In a way, you've answered it by saying that there are other qualities also. That
No, there is. It is there, part of the 18 qualities only. We should not do over endeavor. So that comes as vairagyam, to renounce.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Gunagrahi Prabhu. Mayavadi bhashya sunile hoy sarvanash. Then how to criticize Mayavadi's comments without hearing those? Okay, good question. So you don't have to hear from them what their comments are. You hear from a Vaishnava what Mayavadi's comments are. And then you criticize. You point out what's wrong. Right? I have learned more about Mayavad, not by meeting a Mayavadi, but by reading Prabhupada books. So like that, we learn from our acharyas, what is Mayavad, how it should be refuted, what their arguments are, how to defeat those arguments. You don't have to go and listen to a Mayavadi. Okay. Vaichi Mata, she already asked the question. Okay, Danila Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You said about when we criticize our bad qualities, they go away. Can you elaborate on it?
So I already gave an example. That someone is at your house and you are not behaving well with that person, you're criticizing that person will feel bad and go away. So when you have something wrong in you and you speak about it to others, or you speak about it to yourself, or you openly criticize it, in the sense you devalue it, then you will become frustrated with that bad habit yourself. What happens in the society at present times is, if someone is doing wrong, there are not people around to tell them actually they are doing a wrong thing. Rather, what is wrong is being appreciated. Just because I want to keep you happy, I'll say this is also fine, that is also fine, what you're doing is not at all wrong, this is all okay. So then that person, the guilt that should come inside that person does not come while doing that wrong thing. So when you criticize something which is wrong, and then you find yourself doing it, then you will feel so guilty. Oh, I am always telling that that one should not be like this, but today I myself did that thing. I should work on myself now. I should change. And when that feeling comes, that's the beginning to change. Because until and unless I realize I have to change, I will never change. Correct? So that's why you criticize the wrong things. When you see it in yourself, then, oh, I should work on myself now because I have this bad quality. And then you will change. You will want to change. So that's why criticize what's wrong. We don't talk about it, we will become like that.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. And also, Prabhu, you were saying that when we gain knowledge and we see someone is doing something wrong, we have to tell that person. But is it not that that person may take it wrongly? That
we have to tell that person only if we have the right to tell that person. No, it's not that you go and tell anyone and everyone. You tell that person when you have the right to tell that person. Criticize when you have a right to do so.
Yes.
But even if you have the right to criticize and you don't criticize, that's wrong. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
People are forming nations, their boundaries for their desire of highest sense gratification only. It's example of avidya. Please clarify. Yeah. So why people are making nations or states or cities or countries? What is the mentality behind that? That this particular land is producing some resources and we only should enjoy those resources. We should control those resources. No one from outside should be a part of it, should share it. Right? I am the only one who can own it. So that is enjoyment mentality, sense gratification mentality. Why not share? If you have lots in abundance, why not share? Share now. You will be happy, let others also be happy. But then, no, because it's my land, it's my country, my nation, the resources belong to me. It's very superficial way of thinking, because that nation does not belong to you. You came here just for some short period of time, then you'll be gone. It's false identification that I belong to this country, so the resources of this country are for me. That person belongs to that country, so the resources of that country are for that person. But it's just for a short period of time. You are here for a short period of time. After that, you are gone. That's why Srila Prabhupada brings us to the understanding of first mantra. It does not belong to you. It does not belong to your country. It belongs to Krishna. It belongs to him. Right? And Krishna would want to see what? Krishna would want to see that these resources which are being provided by me, all these resources should be beautifully utilized to help all the people who are living in this planet. They all should be benefited from those resources. Because I am giving it for everyone, not just for a particular class or section. It's for all. So they should get share of it. Like that. So people are trying to hoard over more for themselves and not share with others. Then there's problem. That is not what Krishna wants. All right, we'll stop here now. Thank you so much. See you on next Saturday. Mantra 11 and 12. And Sunday mantra 13 and 14. Also, you'll get the quiz from this particular section which we finished yesterday in 1 or 2 days. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, teacher.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Bol.